Nintendo of America is funding child grooming. It's true. The company is funding the Seattle Pride Parade 2024 and have done so in the past. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com. And we have an alleged leaked document that details that Nintendo of America will fund Seattle Pride Parade 2024 or Seattle Pride 2024, which saw naked men on bicycles exposing themselves to children just last year. The document was shared to X by former World of Warcraft team lead Mark Kern, aka Grums. This is what it says. In support of Nintendo of America's continued commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, Rainbow ERG, that's their LGBTQ plus employment resource group. So it's basically gay Nintendo employees. And I guess the company funds this to then sponsor the event. Is excited to share that this year, Nintendo of America is returning as a sponsor for Seattle Pride 2024. This is one of the ways that Nintendo of America supports our LGBTQ plus community. It's also an opportunity to recognize and celebrate the contributions of our LGBTQ plus employees and associates. It goes on and says Seattle Pride is the largest parade in Washington State with over 200 participating groups and 300,000 attendees. Now in its 50th year of celebration, the first parade in 1974 was held just 5 years ago after the Stonewall Uprising in 1969. The Seattle Pride Parade is a fun and fabulous event. That's absolutely not true. There's absolutely no way this is fun. It is degenerate. That's a more accurate description of it. And evil, in which our community joins together to commemorate the past, celebrate one another when we need it most, and foster encouragement for the work yet to come. They're celebrating in their sin, instead what they should be doing is they should be encouraging each other to live chaste lifestyles and not encouraging self-destruction, which is what they're doing. But Nintendo of America is indeed funding this event, and they've admitted that they have funded it in the past. And we do know that this event does feature or has featured naked men on bicycles exposing their genitalia to children and other members of the public. Post Malone reported this on June 25th last year. The outlet shared video of the event. I'm not going to share it here. I don't recommend looking at it. But if you want to, I will have obviously the link to the article in the description below so you can find it there. But this is what the Post Millennial reported. Footage taken by Katie Daviscourt of the Post Millennial showed naked men with pride flags painted on their bodies riding down the street and waving to crowds of people, including many children. And they were indeed exposing themselves as well on a number of occasions, as documented in the video. It's sick stuff, man. Sick, absolute stuff. Nintendo of America is funding this type of behavior. And they know that this was happening because not only did they fund it, I guess, last year or at least in the past, but they know this happened last year and they are choosing to fund it this year. So they know what they are doing. They know what they're funding. They're funding grooming of children. That's exactly what this is. This stuff is literally targeted at children to indoctrinate them into these disordered lifestyles that they want to celebrate, which they shouldn't. They shouldn't be celebrating this stuff because it's evil. It's wrong. The American Life League points this out. Homosexuals themselves generally don't believe that their orientation is genetic or inborn. Sexologist Alfred Kinsey, the originator of the 10% myth, conducted a survey of 979 homosexuals in 1970 before the gay rights movement had gathered momentum. He found that less than 10% of all his respondents believed that they were born that way. More than 80% attributed their sexual orientation to childhood trauma or other environmental influences. One can only imagine that this parade is an environmental influence that they are trying to use to indoctrinate children into these lifestyles, aka groom these children. It's sick, it's evil, it's disgusting. And Nintendo of America is funding it. Nintendo is funding this. Nintendo. We got some more information here from Grums as well. Not only did he share this document, but he also shared some information from his source or his sources. He said this, or he wrote this. Nintendo of America is sponsoring Seattle Pride, but this isn't the only thing going woke inside Nintendo. My sources tell me Nintendo funds and supports the internal LGBTQ plus group Rainbow ERG. I think that's obvious based on the internal document. Giving company time, resources, and funds to bring in guest speakers and spread propaganda at the cafeteria. So they're literally trying to indoctrinate employees at the company as well. And he also says they sponsored Pride for many years. So they've been doing this for years. Grooming children for years. Evil stuff here. He also shared this. Doug Bowser, president of Nintendo, sent a message to employees cheering on the Derek Chauvin verdict in the George Floyd case. Internally, there's growing concern that DEI is making working at Nintendo USA worse. That's not surprising. Shocking that racist policies makes working there a nightmare. Who would have guessed? Fortunately, we are seeing a lot of movement in the courts. A lot of this stuff is rightfully being declared illegal. We just saw a court case the other day with the appeals court that a venture capitalist group was only providing money to Black women in this contest that they were running, Fearless Funding, and that has now been declared illegal by both the district court and then the appeals court confirmed it. And then Grumps concluded this. He says, many are waiting for the other shoe to drop and for Nintendo to make a big product mistake to turn them into the next Bud Light. I think they have already had. Unfortunately, people didn't seem to care about this one. See a lot of gaslighting around this. In my opinion, lots of people who are clearly demonically oppressed, spreading lies. But the company did indeed release their remake of Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door and turned the character of Vivian into a so-called transgender. Now, I get it's an obscure character. Obviously, it's from a very popular game, but it is indeed, I think, is an obscure character. It's not like they made Mario and Luigi gay for each other. They haven't done anything with like Zelda or Link. So maybe that's obviously kind of maybe what his sources are telling him. You would do something like that with one of their more prominent characters instead of this obscure character. So I get it from that point. But clearly this is happening. I mean, they're doing obscure characters. They're gonna progress. The slippery slope does not end. It's real. So not only have they done that in this Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door remake, but we also know on their job listings for localizers that potential employees or the potential employee will have, quote, awareness of culturalization and DE&I related topics. So obviously it's being institutionalized within the company as well. And we know a lot of how these companies work. I mean, he's already kind of telling us here that this is happening in Nintendo. It's making it working worse and making working at Nintendo USA worse. We know with Warner Brothers, they have a chief diversity officer. He's literally said that they want to drive people who are opposed to the woke ideology out of their company. And so they want to make them as uncomfortable as possible so that they resign by themselves rather than having to lay them off or fire them, where they would actually have to pay them or pay unemployment, etc. But this is disgusting. This is Nintendo. This is Nintendo of America. They are admitting to grooming children. They're admitting to not only participating in it through their employee resource group, but they're funding it. They're funding it with the profits that they make from the games that you are purchasing. Evil stuff here. Very evil. Let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, but to always speak the truth.